Bones and Bobbins podcast is now on Patreon.
Yay!
Would you like access to bonus episodes, digital extras, exclusive merch, and more?
Mm-hmm.
Join us in the Curiosity Shop at patreon.com/Bones and Bobbins.
Your generous support helps make the show happen and will earn you our very eternal gratitude and entry into our private Patreon-only Facebook group where there is no ass hattery.
None. No, some tomfoolery and occasional shenanigans. But yep. No ass hattery and no, like, toxic fuckery. It is delightful.
Yes, love it. A+. Love it. In a dusty old shop on a forgotten old street, you'll find two witches with books 3 boxes deep. Next to rusty old needles and faded red thread, you'll come in for yarn, but leave with pigments instead. Whether poisons or patterns, we're always discreet, where creepy and crafty and morbidity meet. Welcome to the Bones and Bobbins podcast. Hello, morbid makers. We are your slightly creepy,
mildly disconcerting,
somewhat sinister,
delightfully discomposed,
opaquely odd,
merrily morbid,
marvelously misanthropic hosts.
And this is Bones and Bobbins, Season 4, Episode 3, Paws, Claws, and Caws, the lore of black cats, crows, and ravens.
I'm Haley from Red Handled Scissors and the Very Serious Crafts podcast, and I go by she and her.
And I'm Natalie from Uberdork Designs, an official true crime creative, and my pronouns are she and her.
Yay!
Yay! Hey, hi, how you doing?
I don't fucking know. I mean, I'm coming out of the gate with F-bombs, so...
Yes.
Yeah. So yeah, how are you?
I am.
Oh, I'm glad
good.
that you are.
Good. I have an exciting thing and a newfound relaxation thing. So my exciting thing is I know that we have talked on here about Mercury Stardust.
Yes,
who
love
is
her.
The world's best trans handyman.
Mm-hmm.
And she came to speak at my eldest college. And
I'm so jealous.
So I get a FaceTime call from my eldest, and she's like, "Hold on, I have a surprise for you." And gets to the front of the line, and there's Mercury Stardust. I got to meet Mercury Stardust via FaceTime.
That's amazing.
She said she loved my glasses, and all I could do was be like, hee. And I was like, "You're gorgeous, and I love you." And then they took a group photo, and my eldest held their camera out the phone up. So there's a little me on FaceTime in the picture with them, and dear Lord, she is every bit as delightful as you'd hope that she'd be, and she's pretty localist. I mean, she's from Madison.
Right.
But yeah, so that was such a wonderful surprise, and I love it when people that I adore from a distance are the same way in person. Like, that's always comforting.
Yes, that makes me very, very happy because most of the time you don't want to meet your heroes.
Right. And then I stumbled across a YouTube channel that I've kind of fallen in love with called The Builder, and I think she must be on other things too, and I think her like act elsewhere is Girl That Builds.
Mm-hmm.
Girl the Builder. And I should probably actually like find out more about her, but they're all videos of this petite, incredibly badass gal who goes into like the middle of the woods and single-handedly creates like an underground house with a fire and like a fireplace and like just all these different like basically I guess survival or like forest houses
Can she be my girlfriend?
Seriously. It is. And then she, like, cooks herself a meal on, like, the fire. Like, it just... But
that sounds so soothing.
It is. And they're all different. Like, sometimes, like, it's, you know, mud and clay, and there's a moss roof. Sometimes she's cutting down what looks like, you know, wood or bamboo, or, like, just, it is incredible that she single-handedly does these. And they're all just so delightful. She's got one of them, she hung, like, some solar-powered lights, like, twinkle lights, and just, yeah, it is very soothing in a weird way. Like, I really like it. So that's my little plug for that. Because I think a lot of our listeners would probably enjoy it too. Because, you know, you're making stuff, it's from the earth, old-fashioned way, and I'm convinced that now I could probably create some kind of domicile in a post-apocalyptic world thanks to these videos. But of course, I also think that I could, you know, kill a zombie and so, you know, I might be wishful thinking, but
I mean, I know for certain that I can kick doors down and flip someone who is 6'6", 300 pounds over my back if I want to.
Because you're amazing.
No, it's because my center of gravity is really low. So I feel like there are a lot of skills latent skills that one might discover when one needs to. I can tell you what one of mine isn't, though. Chopping wood with a hatchet.
Oh, my
goodness.
There's a female lumberjack on
Oh
TikTok.
my God, I love her so
right?
much.
I'm like, there's a couple of women on TikTok doing some amazing, like.
Do you know the geologist? Who's the volcanologist? Oh my gosh. Speaking of hot gay ladies who are extraordinarily capable in their fields, there is a volcanologist who is exactly that. And I don't know why it fits in the set, but it does. Yeah.
If you say it does, it does. I fully back you.
Yeah, but I'm really, I mean, it doesn't help that the ceiling in my basement is low enough that I can't get, like, a full swing without being mildly concerned that I will hit the gas line.
Dude, just your basement is mildly concerning.
I mean, have I ever taken you on a video tour of the basement that I will go into? Not the basement I won't go into.
No, you've not yet. I've seen photos of, like, from doorway, but I have not seen. Yeah, no, it's got some. Instead of big dick energy, it's got Blair Witch energy. Like,
I mean,
BWE.
There is a hole in the ground covered with slats of wood that is casually also then covered by a rug that has been there for 100 years.
I would not look at that. I would not taunt it.
The wood is so old and worn so smooth that it's probably been there. I mean, my best guess is that it's a well.
Yeah.
But I'm also fairly certain there's a cistern in the back.
I've also seen things go in wells and come out of wells that in horror movies.
Things that look like me, frankly. So, but yeah, so I will bring you down there with me. But I am not great at splitting wood for kindling with a hatchet. I injured myself.
No.
And by injured myself, I mean I got a blister on my hand because I'm prissy.
My dad and his neighbor once built a log splitter.
Well, and I need one. I've been shopping for some beautiful cast iron log splitters. Don't get me started. Speaking of being prissy, I accidentally got baby bangs today.
I think they're adorable. I am digging them.
Oh, I like them. They're fine. I mean, except that I'm 40 and I have forehead wrinkles. But I feel very, very 90s. And
where's your glow sticks? Your Junkos?
I have both of those things, and I can, in fact, tell you where they are.
Somebody posted the big pants coming back, and I was like, oh, Jinkos. And everybody's like, you know the name of those? I'm like, hell yeah, I know the name of those.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, no, I definitely still have a couple of pairs at my mom's.
Nice.
Yeah, they are...
they were just fun.
They were massive. And,
indeed.
like, as a human whose butt-to-waist ratio is really significant, those pants looked truly absurd on me. But yeah, anyway, guess what I got this week?
What did you get?
I got something I have wanted since I was a tiny child, and I'm so excited. I got an actual card catalog.
That's a holy grail for me, man.
60 drawers, all of them still there, all of them with hardware, and it's like 3 columns, and each column has like the pull-out table, so you can set the drawer on it once you pull out. Oh my god. I paid far too much for it, and I don't care.
I once tried to explain the whole card catalog thing to my offspring, and I was like, I'm a little sad that you didn't get to experience, looking up things in one. And they're both like, we're fine. We're fine with not having to have
I don't
that.
think you are, though.
You don't know. You don't know the feeling of picking a topic for a paper and then going to the library to get the books on it, and somebody else beats you to it. And there was no alternative. You had to pick a whole new topic because that was it. There was no going on to the internet to find the things. At best, if your parents had the Encyclopedia Britannica, you had like a couple pages in one of the. But
I had a 1950s encyclopedia set.
Yeah, my parents had an old one too. Mm-hmm. But yeah.
Oh,
I'm so happy for you. That's
so amazing. I'm so excited. It's sitting in my kitchen right now because I can't get it up the stairs.
Makes sense.
And I'm not really sure how I'm going to get it up here because it took 4 people to get it off of a truck, like 4 adults.
Okay. So hear me out. The next family holiday that you host?
I don't want... See... It's the way I'm going to finally put the things that have been in the boxes behind me since I moved here. Mm-hmm. I'm going to put them away.
Yeah.
And I need to move that up here so I can put them away. Okay.
So then you create a family holiday. You offer, at least, I mean, you're from the but see, yeah, the family there is not Midwestern. I was like,
No.
I was going to say Midwest, you offer some pizza and they're there. Like your whole family will show up and move.
Oh yeah, I know how to coax a Midwestern family.
Right.
A case of PBR.
Yep.
And pizza.
Yep.
Like that's how you get the
If you need the moms, it's a hot dish casserole and you're good.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Or you ask them to bring a hot dish casserole because even if they're coming to help you, they want to.
Yeah, they live for that shit. Yep, absolutely.
Oh
Be like,
God.
I'll make the fluff if you bring the casserole. Woo.
I mean, maybe I just need to yell something like, "Get over here, kid." Isn't calling everybody kid a Boston thing? Yeah, I think so. Get in the car. There we go.
Or don't they have what is it called? Taskmasters? Is that it?
Well, yes. There are absolutely ways I could get this done. It's that I don't want to interface with humans.
True. I mean, there's got to be a pulley system we could come up with.
I told Jeremy that I needed a piano crane. And he questioned whether or not I would be able to fit things truly in the windows. And, I mean, I have windows significantly taller and wider than I am.
Yeah.
I don't see the problem here. Just saying. Anyway, I apologize to any and all New Englanders listening for my really bad Boston accent, but you see, if I try any harder, then it just turns into Midwest.
Yeah.
And that is a really weird combination.
Indeed. You know what time it is?
What time?
It's time to take a quick little break to thank all of our sweet baby angel fantastic Curiosity Shop members over on Patreon with a special, totally normal and not at all creepy welcome to our newest member, Marie Broderick, who I believe is from across the pond.
And probably hates hearing that, but we love saying it so much. Oh, I'm sorry, but also not sorry.
Welcome to the chaos.
Yes, welcome you. You specifically.
Yes.
You're the best.
The best.
And we would totally go explore hidden old graveyards in the woods with you, and I know where several are.
Absolutely. And
that's not a threat.
Yeah, no.
That's a promise.
Absolutely. And if you're listening and you want in on this fun, not only are you going to get fun stuff like we've mentioned before, you're also going to get like a huge backlog of Patreon-only episodes. I think we just recorded... I think the last one was episode 60. Yeah.
I believe.
And 61, I will actually give you a foreshadowing a little bit on today's episode. But, there is a plethora of episodes and backlogs. And you'll get to hear, there's even one with my offspring. We did a Halloween episode. You'll get to hear the cats, because cats be cattin'. And
my mom came on and talked about UFOs at some point.
Yes. Oh my God, that was a great episode. So yeah, just a lot of, you get to get a little, I guess, less formal, because, you know, we're so fucking formal.
We're so formal. Like I didn't say fuck within the first 30 seconds.
Also, I want to give a shout out and a thank you to the I Need a Nickname review that we got on Apple. That we had not actually seen, but if you are listening, I want to hug you. Unless you do not like to be touched, I will air hug you, but thank you. It is one of the sweetest reviews that I have ever in my life. Thank you. That's all.
It absolutely is.
I just felt we needed to shout her out.
Oh yes, it made me smile so much. And also, you know, there's no hurry to become a Patreon member.
Right.
It'll happen someday.
Yeah.
It's fine.
We still love you.
Absolutely.
Indeed.
Yeah, you really, truly made our day.
You did. You did indeed. So yeah, what you got for us today?
Oh, well, would you like me to tell you about black cat superstitions and lore?
I would. I loves me. There was a black kitty that somebody posted, and it was really hard for me not to be like, I will drive to there and get you.
I feel that way multiple times a day. Yeah. It's a problem.
Yeah, I don't know that Ron Swanson and Leslie Mope would be, receptive to another one.
I feel the same way about Mr. Big Stuff. The kittens, well, Phryne would probably just ignore, and Jack would enthusiastically harass.
Yeah. I think if you get them when they're tiny, that's easier. I think some kind of maternal or fraternal, some parental kind of
that didn't work so well with the kittens and Biggie.
Oh, I suppose, yeah.
Yeah, he was just like, nah, man. Absolutely not. But whatever, they snuggle now.
Aww.
Only because it's cold in here.
Yeah, take what you can get.
It's fine. So, obviously, I am personally a card-carrying member of the Black Cat Club. I have two of them. One of them is the aforementioned Mr. Big Stuff.
Yes.
Who is a large and lumbering friendly giant with huge fuzzy feet, and I love him dearly. He also took over my day yesterday because he had a blood sugar emergency. And that takes about 3+ hours to sort out.
Yeah.
And he's 13, so he doesn't bounce back in quite the way he used to, or at least as quickly. But he's all good. And black cat number 2 in my life is Phryne, who is very sneaky, very spooky, and very small. And she has teeny tiny feet, which are the cutest, except for when they are leaving a trail across my freshly cleaned counter. Which is always when they're visible, because that's just how cats work.
So like, oh, that's clean? Let me claim it.
Exactly. And she also, her favorite thing to do is haunting our parlor at night.
Okay.
She, every night, parks it in the same spot, stares at the same thing, and like, I see ghosts, and I have no idea what she's looking at. And she does that and stays downstairs all night.
She's guarding.
Yep, and she does, and then she comes up to bed after breakfast in the morning. So, I mean, she's tiny and feisty. So, all right. And I have at least one black ghost cat that hangs out in the kitchen. There are several ghost cats that all hang out in the kitchen, which I did not know until I shut the kitchen door when we were having construction and I still kept seeing cats. I thought that I was just seeing my cats. No, I was not. So I guess I have more cats now, but whatever.
I mean, at least you don't have to worry about their litter box.
Exactly. And so black cats are kind of a lifestyle in my house. And yes, they're kind of spooky. Yes, they're kind of weird sometimes, but they're also my favorite. And my dad just texted me. Aw, hi, Dad. Anyway, so they are also my favorite, and their weirdness is one of the things that delights me the most. I wouldn't say this is an example of a black cat being lucky, but it's certainly a black cat being one with nature. So Phryne, my tiny cat, has a forbidden love affair happening at the moment with the skunk that lives under my house. And when I say that the skunk lives under my house, I mean literally lives in a hole under my house that is between my side door, the porch of my side door, and the bay windows in my dining room. So, like, right there. And this happens to also be one of the least airtight spaces in my house. And so I was downstairs the other day and heard Phryne making a noise. And I thought that, like, we've had some horny cat incidents.
Yeah.
Not my cats, but cats that were outside behaving like ghosts. And I thought that that's what was going on. But then Phryne's plastered up against the window. And I get closer and closer, and she's definitely looking at something outside. And as I get right up next to her, I see the skunk also plastered up against the window with, like, its little nose on the glass, and Phryne's nose is on the glass, and, like, you guys. And then it became very stinky.
No.
Yeah. So,
That's so stinky cute. Literally.
Yeah. So I have 2 black cats and 1 skunk that thinks she's a black cat.
like the cartoon with Pepe Le Pew.
Yes, exactly. Although she is beautiful, the skunk. We got to see her right after we moved in with her babies.
Oh,
And
God, skunk babies.
yeah, and she's not super into spraying except during skunk mating season, which is now. So, like, it's generally fine, and she is beautiful. But, black cats. Anyway, that was a whole tangent, but we're just gonna roll with it.
Rolling right along.
Yep. So, most of the time in the U.S., we only hear about the spooky side of black cat lore and superstition, but there are actually many different interpretations of black cats throughout history, which is kind of fun. So, we're going to start, not shockingly at all, in Egypt.
Yay!
Yeah. So, as most people know, cats were largely domesticated in ancient Egypt, and that's because they were a mutually beneficial partnership. The cats wanted to eat pests. The people wanted the cats to eat pests. Then the cats wanted to come sleep somewhere comfy. And the people were like, oh, kitty.
Yes.
And so they naturally evolved throughout these relationships into a symbol of protection for a household and connection to deities because of that protection. But it started out as protecting the household from vermin, which I like that. I like that a very natural task for cats also is the reason that they are then deified later. So, Bestest, who is the Egyptian goddess of protection, pleasure, and good health.
Okay.
Like you do. And many other things, because we don't limit ourselves as goddesses.
We do it all.
Yeah. So she was either depicted as a female body with the head of a cat, or sometimes just as a cat figure. And Bestest was the daughter of the sun god Ra. And one of the stories behind her mythology is that at night she would turn into a cat to protect her father from serpents.
Oh.
And specifically the serpent Apep, which I guess was one of the main enemies that was a threat to the sun god. And so there are lots of depictions in art and also within grave goods that connect with cats fighting off serpents and things like that. And so that was probably one of the main things that they protected people from, which stresses me out a lot to think about. But also, okay. All right. So Bestest is, like I said, the goddess of many different things, and also many sometimes opposing things. So, like, fertility and also violence. But also the moon.
Okay.
And the moon plus cats plus deities sort of becomes a theme.
Yeah.
In this episode. But much like cats that are both extremely independent and also will sleep on your lap. Like, it's interesting that personality is even woven into the mythological personality of cat-related deities.
It is.
Yes. And something I especially like is that modern followers of Bestest believe that she casts protection over modern cats. So, like, you know, the cat's having 9 lives sort of thing.
Yeah.
It's related to that. And one of her sacred colors was black, which is likely one of the origins of black cat lore as a whole. So that's kind of fun.
It all makes sense.
Yeah.
Also, it's delightful to know that cats have been cats. Like,
oh, cats are just cats.
Like, it just, cats be catting for a very long time.
Yeah, that is also a recurring theme here. So, Hecate has joined the chat now.
Okay.
So, Hecate is a Greek goddess, and given her interests, I think she and I would probably match on Tinder. I actually have no idea how Tinder works because I have been married for a long, long time, but just go with me on this. So in Greek mythology, Hecate is associated with witchcraft, magic, the moon, doorways, creatures of the night, death, and spooky shit. And so, like, same girl.
Sign me up. Yep.
And it's unsurprisingly really common in modern witchcraft to bring this goddess into spiritual and spell work. So I know an awful lot of witches who include Hecate in their normal practices and have altar goods specifically for Hecate. I
mean, more so than any other deity that I know, witch-wise.
Yeah.
I mean, just amongst my witchy friends, you know, but for the most part, I think, yeah.
Yeah, I can think of a few, especially in Celtic lore, that also are part of that, but there's, like, Hecate is the top witch in the general realm of goddesses that modern pagan witches will still petition. I mean, interact with, worship, revere. There are none of those sound right.
I was just gonna say fuck with.
There you go. Fuck with. So now I can't. Oh gosh. Anyway, so Hecate also has a familiar who is a black cat.
Nice. Yes.
Or I think that we sort of assume that the cat is black. I don't know that there's actual historical evidence of the specific color, but it's kind of assumed that she has a black cat. And her cat happens to have been a maid who was turned into a cat by the goddess Hera because said maid had been rude. So...
Oh... I mean, there's
so
worse
Hecate's
things.
Familiar is a woman with a spell cast on her. Which I'm sure kind of sucks. So I just thought that was sort of a funny aside because, I mean...
It makes sense.
I knew that Hecate had a cat, but I don't think I knew that part before I started researching. So... You know, witches with cats, that's been a thing since ancient Greece, which is actually earlier than I thought, even though I knew Hecate had a cat. I don't know. You know, brains. But now we're going to tiptoe into some very familiar territory. The Catholic Church.
Oh, boy.
Right? And, I mean, I guess the Christian church largely because Catholicism didn't exist yet, where we're starting, which is newly Christian Rome.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah. So, in newly Christian Rome, the cats plus deities connection wasn't going so well. according to these fancy new Christians.
Which is funny, because Christians had no problem stealing pagan shit.
No, and this is like, I think, the year 350 or something that I'm talking about. Like, this is, like, we're still pretty pagan, man.
Yep.
Still pretty pagan. Like, we're still turning festivals into fake Christian holidays.
Yeah, yeah.
But, so according to Roman Christians, cats were obviously pagan, obviously familiars of witches, and definitely too independent to be trusted.
I mean, haters gonna hate.
Right? But the funny thing is, their, quote, willful rebellion didn't sit right with the church, since Adam was supposed to have dominion over the animals. And so I would just like to say that they had clearly not yet encountered a honey badger. Nobody asked me. Or say, my cat. They have never encountered Jack, who is an adorable ball of extraordinarily stubborn light. And so, to further complicate matters, since they were already like, ugh, cats don't like men, in 1233, Pope Gregory IX insisted that heretics were, now, just buckle in for this one,
Okay.
that heretics were using black cats in their nighttime sex orgies with Lucifer. And Lucifer was apparently somehow also showing up as half cat.
I thought he was goat.
Yeah, I don't know.
Okay, what?
Like, this is literally something, like, this is from one of the Pope's big, like, writs.
See, but drag queens are the problem. Come on. Come on now.
I mean, Satan in a cat costume.
Fucking. Who even thinks of that shit?
Right. And so it goes further.
Oh, God.
By 1484, Pope Innocent VIII had really gone all in. Yeah. I mean, the Pope's innocent, sort of, like, you're trying too hard.
Right.
You're trying way too hard. But anyway, so he had gone all in, and content alert, sad.
Oh, no.
Go forward like 15 seconds if you need to. But huge numbers of cats were killed because it was believed that said cats might be witches in disguise. And you know how witches were historically killed.
Yeah. No.
Yeah.
Oh. Ron Swanson, cover your ears.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm not going to go any further than that. But
fuck him.
Yeah, so, oh no, they might be witches in disguise, and also that Pope stated that the cats were the devil's favorite animal and idol of all witches. And that was a direct quote also from one of the writings of the Pope that was distributed throughout Catholicism.
Good Lord.
So, yeah.
They had pussy envy.
I mean, girl, you need pussy control.
Oh, serious? God,
oh, damn it. Now it's going to be stuck in my head.
Can you imagine being that fucking insecure as a human being? And here's the thing, like, do you honestly think your God couldn't handle a cat? Like, I don't... If your faith is that paper thin, like, I don't...
Yeah, I mean, there was literal church doctrine that was written about cats because cats were too willful and rebellious with regards to man.
Okay, but hear me out.
They're real scared of ladies.
Like, seriously.
Right.
But according to our beloved ancient Egyptians, cats fought off serpents, right? And wasn't the devil a fucking serpent?
I mean,
like,
there are lots of things that might go into the serpent category.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah.
Shit.
So, unsurprisingly, even though we had flounced through the schism and we had some Protestants and some Catholics running amok now, the Pilgrims brought their anti-caste sentiments with them when they arrived in the now United States to steal indigenous land because, you know.
Because colonizers and assholes.
Because colonizers and also really insecure dudes.
Seriously.
Yeah, so it turns out that the church overall really did a number on Western cat lore, and the superstitions about black cats, which were obviously really just the result of men panicking about smart and or independent women, still remain. Like, dudes were that scared of women that we still think black cats are bad luck.
They're cats. I mean, like, Ron Swanson's a big boy. You've seen him. But even that, he's just a little cat. Compared to a human being.
I mean, I think Ron Swanson and Biggie are not dissimilar in size, although Ron Swanson is floofier than Biggie.
He does have some floof going on. But yeah, like, I just can't imagine being that fragile of a human being to be like
I can in fact imagine it because I've seen fragile little male egos crumble under the weight of literally anything.
They're fucking running rampant right now, but that's a whole other episode.
So now that we've gotten to there and we know why black cats have kind of a bad reputation, I'm just going to tell you some of the lighter side, more fun superstitions that are really weird and specific.
Okay.
Yeah. So, in England and Ireland, sailors considered black cats to be good luck as mousers on ships, and wives of seafaring men would often keep black cats at home to ensure their husband's safe return, because it was thought that the black cat had some sort of power and sway over that.
Aww.
So that's kind of cute.
It is.
And there's also lore that says a lady who owns a black cat will have many suitors.
Ooh,
and I'm wondering if that's because her husband is at sea. Just saying. They were in the same line of this is lore from England and Ireland, and I was like, that's pretty convenient. So, let's move on to some pirates. Pirates were confused.
Yeah, happens.
If a black cat is walking toward you, bad luck.
Oh.
If it's walking away from you, good luck. But if it walks onto a ship and then walks right the fuck back off, you are so screwed. It's going to sink. Everyone's going to die.
Wow.
Which, I mean, kind of fair enough. I trust that cat to know better. If that cat's like, absolutely not.
Yeah.
So, Scotland, there are mixed reviews of cats. Celtic folklore included a fae creature called Cat Sith, and I don't think that's probably how it's spelled or how it's pronounced. I assume that's... I have been learning Irish, and I know this is Scotland, but there are some similarities in Gaelic pronunciations, and so I'm fairly certain that that isn't it. Anyway, reeling my autism back in, this creature was a giant black cat with a white patch on its chest, which I would just like to say is exactly like my tiny little Franny cat.
Oh!
So I have a mini one that haunts my parlor. And said cat might stomp around the Scottish Highlands, specifically to walk across the bodies of the newly dead to steal their souls before they had been buried properly. Which is kind of hilarious since anybody who lives with a cat has been walked.
Right.
You've had a cat walk across your face.
They walk across anything. They don't give a just if it fits, I sit. If it's there, I walk. Like point A to point B. Like I have woken up with a paw firmly on my face, convinced that's how I'm gonna die. Cause
I understand. Yeah. Franny decided to curl up on my face recently, and I was just like,
I woke up in the middle of the night with Ron Swanson's asshole firmly pressed against my face, and it was not pleasant. I was like, sir, I love that you're like full on snuggler now, but no, too far. But yeah, cats don't give a fuck.
No, and so like that is the perfect embodiment of something that is just going to like randomly stroll on by and take your soul. Like, yeah, I can see
if anything, he was probably protecting them from like vermin.
And I agree, that's exactly what was happening there. Like, somebody saw a big cat shadow, and but yeah, whatever.
It's probably a guy who got his feels.
Yeah. Well, he's a little emotional.
Yeah.
But weirdly enough, also in Scotland, if a just regular black cat shows up on your doorstep, it's a sign of prosperity and good luck. And sometimes they're called money cats.
Ooh, nice.
Yeah.
But they can't have the white patch then? Can you imagine trying to check it for one?
You know, it doesn't say anything about white patches. I'm gonna go with any, like, majority black furred cat.
Gotcha.
Probably counts.
Nice.
But maybe entirely black cats have a little extra oomph.
A little more potent.
I don't know. I wonder also if part of the Scotland fae cat is related to the lore that cats will steal your breath.
Oh, yeah.
Because, I mean, they don't, but also they will curl up on your face.
Right.
And they will get really close to your face with their faces. Like, I can see where that came from.
Right, especially with babies because of the milk on their breath.
Well, yeah, and they really want to know what that thing is making noise. Yeah, I think I've told you before, and I probably mentioned it on the podcast, that some of Jeremy's friends were in town, and they had a very, very newborn baby.
Yes.
Like, weeks old newborn baby. And they woke up in the middle of the night to the baby fussing, and it was so new that, like, the baby fussing didn't wake anybody else up because it didn't have the lung capacity to do that yet. But when they turned the light on, all three of my cats were around the bassinet, just looking in, like, not doing anything. No, none of them got in the bassinet, but they were all just, like, having an audience.
There was a meeting. They were trying to decide what to do.
Yep, cat meeting.
Walking out of cat meetings is always weird.
It is weird.
It's like it's like walking into a cult.
Yeah, and they just look at you and slam their briefcases shut. Never mind, man. Yeah, so moving on to Wales. Welsh folklore holds that black cats are good for keeping disease away from home.
Okay.
So
that makes sense.
somebody paid attention during the plague.
Right. Cats kill vermin. Vermin carry disease.
Yeah. And speaking of Europe during the plague times, they thought cats, and especially black cats, were sent by the devil to spread the disease. Which is funny, because cats were actually the thing that could save them.
Right.
Because fleas on rats. There's also some research that I don't think there's a large enough sample size, but it indicates that the genetic variants that cause black cats also might protect from certain diseases. So it's entirely possible that black cats were especially good for that specifically. So yeah, they definitely did a lot of shall we say removal of cats during precisely the time when they needed cats the most.
Yeah, not great.
No, but apparently Wales got the memo.
Yeah, the Welsh. Good on them.
Yeah. I mean, I actually don't know if they also were wound up about cats, but it seems that they came out of
They had more
plague
sense
times.
about them than...
Yeah. So, I don't know. And this is an especially weird one. In France, some folklore says that plucking a white hair from a black cat without getting scratched is good luck. Which, what? Are you coming for the Fey cat?
I mean, if you can pluck something off a cat and not get thwapped, that's lucky, but...
Well, I mean, or you have Mr. Big Stuff, who gets shots multiple times a day and is just like, whatever, I love you.
I don't have to pluck anything, although Ron Swanson gets, like, stray crap in his eye and I have to...
Oh, God, me too. Biggie also.
Pin him
I
down
mean, I
and
think
clean it
pretty
up.
much all rescue cats, because that's feline herpes.
Oh, that's lovely.
I mean, it's just a virus.
Ron Swanson, you have herpes?
He's
like
I said, I think that literally all cats from a shelter situation or a cat colony situation do.
Yeah, I mean, he
sort
was
of like the upper respiratory issues.
Oh, the kennel coffee stuff, whatever that is.
Mm-hmm. Which is also, I think, feline herpes.
It might be. I don't know.
Anyway, that was not necessarily a road I was going to go down. So, moving on to Egypt, they love a black cat. Obviously, we know that. In Western cultures broadly, if a black cat crosses your path, it's a death omen. But in Germany, it's more complicated because Germans. So crossing, if the black cat crosses your path from right to left, it's a bad omen.
Okay.
But if it's from left to right, it's a good omen. And I wonder if that has to do with right hand magic and left hand magic and paganism.
Yeah. I mean, left is bad for... God, even... So my dad went to Catholic school, and the nuns used to smack him because he was left-handed. And so, I mean, just, again, kind of fucked up logic is that?
Exactly. And in my final sort of weird cat lore list is comes from Chilean folklore.
Oh.
Where a black cat is apparently a very important thing to have on hand when hunting the treasure of the carbuncle, which is a legendary small animal that either has treasure or a lucky gemstone that will bring you good fortune. So if you want to steal that, you're gonna need a black cat.
Oh, okay.
I am somewhat unclear why.
I don't know.
Maybe it's to distract and chase this small animal. I'm not really sure.
I'd probably watch that movie. I don't.
Yeah. And I'm not sure if any of that is sinister.
Okay.
So, but I thought that was interesting that specifically you would want a black cat for that.
Indeed.
So yeah, that is a not comprehensive but broad look at some black cat lore and superstitions.
That's amazing. And some of those I had absolutely no idea on.
Yeah, I definitely did not know the ins and outs of, say, pirate black cat lore.
Right?
Like, all right.
Well, when it comes to witches and animals after cats, we need to talk corvids.
Obviously.
Specifically ravens and crows. And specifically in regards to, like, European witchy folklore, because that's our lane.
Yeah.
There's...
Oh!
Yeah.
Did I tell you? Can I interrupt
Yeah,
you
absolutely.
for just a second? When I got home from visiting New York, which I probably haven't mentioned on the podcast, I went to New York to hang out. And the moment I got out of the car in my driveway, an entire murder of crows flew over and just started circling my house.
She's home!
Yeah, and I was like, Jeremy, did you tell the crows I was coming home? And he just looked up and he's like, I think they know.
That's awesome.
And I was like, yes. And so I just stood there on the ground and smiled and excitedly fidgeted at the crows who were flying over, and there were so many of them.
Nice.
Okay, I'm done.
That's a good story. So I do want to say that many indigenous tribes have very significant ties to these birds,
yes.
Especially ravens. And I do encourage you to read some indigenous sources to learn more. Mm-hmm. But again, not our lane. So I'm not going to be the one to go down that route. So now before we before we run on into this, first a little fun fact about me and birds. I think I've mentioned before that my bestie growing up had and her parakeet, which gave me a borderline fear of birds.
Yes.
And like I break out in stress hives going through the aviary at any zoo.
How did you end up with birds? I'm sorry I gave you the birds.
But hear me out. In true Natalie fashion, this does not extend to birds of prey. Tiny birds I shouldn't fear. Hives. Giant or potentially dangerous birds. Let me hug you.
I mean,
I am who I am.
Birds that big are smart. Like, if they win, they deserve to win.
So, yeah, I am who I am.
All right.
So, I'm going to kick this off with a very common question, and that is, what is the difference between crows and ravens? So, both.
I know.
I'm sure you do. Both are indeed corvids, and both are blackbirds that look very, very similar.
Yes.
For starters, ravens are larger, think like red-tailed hawk's eyes, and they often...
Yeah, they're way bigger.
And they often travel in pairs. A flock of ravens is called an unkindness.
Dun, dun, dun.
Crows travel, and the name of that is like the only time ravens don't run up crows. Crows travel in larger groups called a murder.
Dun, dun, dun.
Ravens have longer middle feathers. So When they flare their tail out, it looks more wedge-shaped than a crow's. A crow's resembles like a fan because they're all pretty equal. Mm-hmm. In the air, ravens soar, whereas crows do more of the flappy flapping. On the ground, ravens' little strut includes 2-footed hops. And
how fancy.
They are a little fancy. They do a little dance. And while crows caw and purr, ravens croak and scream bloody murder, so kind of a frog banshee vibe.
Yeah, I saw my first wild raven here calling to its mate.
Aw.
And that bird was so big.
Yeah.
Like, it was in the top of a very, very, very tall tree, and it looked huge.
Yeah.
And, oh my God, I could hear it all the way back to my house. It was so loud. It was really cool.
So if you find yourself face to face with a raven, you'll notice that its beak is bigger and curved, and the bristles at the base of its beak are longer than that of a crow's. And they also rock some like shaggy throat feathers. So we're going to start out with going deeper into the crows, because I think crows are probably more common and people pretty much are more aware of them, but
they're literally called common crows.
Right? Crows and the folklore surrounding them are most often associated with death, transition, and other realms. So they're often believed across various cultures to be able to act as a portal between worlds. So a messenger across the veil. It could be because, hey, they're blackbirds and they give off that vibe. But another reason could be how crows seem to mourn their own death. Mm-hmm. All it takes is one dead crow and another to spot it. The live crow will release an alert, which is harsh and urgent. And before you know it, there's a mob of crows that arrives. And sometimes it's a handful. Sometimes it's up to 60 or 70, depending on like the population. Basically, if a crow hears it, it's coming.
Yep.
So some of them will settle in a circle around the deceased. Others will perch in trees or along like telephone wires nearby. The crows will remain silent and still for a short time and then break into a chorus of calls. And they cycle through this silence and kind of, I don't know, aggravation, hullabaloo for like 15 to 20 minutes. And then all of a sudden, all at once, they'll just up and fucking leave. Like, just boop, they're out. It is believed that this ritual not only serves as a funeral to mourn the loss, but also as a meeting to determine the cause of death and if any danger is near that's going to affect them. Mm-hmm. Crows are incredibly clever. Mm-hmm. Their brains measure about the size of a human thumb. Relative to body size, their brains are more in line with a mammal, even a primate. Yeah. According to John Martzloff, a corvid cognition researcher at University of Washington.
Man, I want to be one of those.
Right? Quote, there are a couple of ways to solve problems the environment throws at you. You can reproduce like crazy and basically try to flood the market with your progeny and hope that you will do well. Or you can evolve with the strategy of being thoughtful, and smart crows have that second strategy. So 14 years ago, Martzloff caught and tagged crows at the University of Washington campus as part of the study that he was doing. He wore a caveman mask while doing it.
Oh, this is that guy.
Yeah, because he knew that the crows might have recognized him just from being regularly on campus. Mm-hmm. To this day, when he wears that mask and walks on campus, crows scream at him. And some of these birds were not even remotely alive 14 years ago. Quote, they have spread that information culturally by social learning, Martzloff says. Sort of like a don't talk to strangers lesson that human parents pass along to their young. To learn from one another to take things at face value like that isn't something that's that happens with all species. So given all of this, it is definitely clear that crows would represent death and be seen as messengers between the realms.
Right.
And that makes sense. One of the most famous connections between crows and witchcraft is the Morrigan, which is a Celtic goddess that often appears as a crow or raven, depending on where you read, and I'll get to that in a bit too. But if you would like to hear a deep dive on her, join our Patreon, as I'll be covering her in the next episode.
I'm so excited.
Me
I have
too.
not looked into this any further because I want to hear.
So in my research, I have found that crows and ravens have been often mistaken for each other, and the names pretty much interchangeably used for any big-ass blackbird for centuries. So let's get into Poe's bestie, ravens. Now, while Poe's mental health may have been in question, it is entirely possible that his raven did quote nevermore. Because, you see, ravens have a vast repertoire of over 100 or more vocalizations. Mm-hmm. With their deep voice, ravens can mimic human speech and singing and can imitate other bird and animal sounds. Mm-hmm. Now, while crows may also be trained to talk, ravens they're like one-uppers on everything. So, while crows are considered clever, ravens, again, take that shit up a notch. They often work in pairs to acquire food. When one raven will lure a parent bird away from its nest, while the other swoops in to feed on the eggs or hatchlings.
Oh, don't do that, guys.
Yeah, a little sad. They've also been known, and pretty frequently, to call and lead wolves to a carcass so that the wolf can tear the animal open.
Oh, yeah.
And the ravens can then pop on by and take the soft parts and the stuff that the wolves didn't eat. They have also been known, this kills me, they've also been known, and this is like a repeated thing, it's not like just a one-time myth thing. They've been known to pull ice fishermen's lines up from icy waters just as a fish has hit. So they can steal the fish.
I feel like if that happens to you, you just have to let the bird have it.
You gotta.
You're like, okay.
All right, you won.
You win.
Exactly. So they're not just assholes, though. Young ravens are often witnessed playing catch in the air. So, like, one will drop a stick and the other will, like, swoop and grab it before it hits the ground. So
that's adorable.
They may not mourn their dead as crows do, but they do well to keep their living. They're good like that. So according to the Audubon Society Encyclopedia of North American Birds, ornithologist John Trestrel writes, corvid have probably achieved the highest degree of intelligence to be found in any birds. Irene Pepperberg of the University of Arizona goes further to state that corvids share the cognitive capacity of many primates. So, what does folklore say about these little smarty pants?
Dinosaurs.
So, I know I said I was going to keep it to, like, European folklore, but I'm bringing in the Bible because I find it fucking hilarious that it's super contradictory. So,
I mean, I think that's fine. The Bible has brought itself into every other conversation.
Right? So the raven in it is both shunned and praised. First, Noah, super pissed because apparently the ravens didn't let him know that the flood was receding. I didn't know they were.
How was that the ravens' business?
Exactly. But later, ravens are considered protectors of the prophets, and it's said that they fed Elijah and Paul the Hermit in the wilderness. Also, I think it's funny that it's Paul the Hermit. Like, I wish they all had, like, borderline mafia guys' names, because it would make the Bible a lot more interesting. They were also said to have helped St. Cuthbert and St. Bernard, whoever the flip they are, I don't know, but they helped them. In contradictory Christian traditions, ravens represent the solitude of the holy hermits, yet they also represent the souls of wicked priests and witches. Make it make sense, guys.
Like you do.
Right. So Europeans also seem fond of contradictions. Since ravens can be taught to speak and have a complex vocabulary of their own, they're often connected symbolically to both wisdom and prophecy. During Christian times, however, they had, quite a few strikes kind of going against them. Black, considered a negative color, They ate rotted meat, and they often paired up with man's oldest enemy, wolves.
Dun, dun, dun.
Right, and I did not know so much of the raven-wolf connection, but it seems pretty deep, and I'm gonna look into that.
There's there's a whole video on it that what's her face? She's a Corvid researcher who is very on Instagram and TikTok. I'll send you the link, but there's she does a whole breakdown. And I think her PhD is in crow death rituals.
Ooh, nice.
Yes, so she's cool. So I will send you a link to the crow and wolf combination thing.
Very cool. So yeah, in many Western traditions, ravens represent darkness, destructiveness, and evil. They are sometimes associated with deities of evil and of death. Both witches and the devil were both said to be able to take the shape of a raven. The pagan Danes and Vikings used the raven banner on their ships in Odin's honor. The flags, typically sewn by the daughters of the great warriors and kings, were tokens of luck on their voyages. Houses where ravens nested were also thought to be lucky. Odin himself had 2 ravens, Hugin, which is thought, and Munin, memory, who flew around the world delivering messages, gathering knowledge, and reporting back to him.
Cool.
One of Odin's many titles is Hrafnagud, I'm probably butchering that, which is the god of ravens. Odin's daughters, the warlike Valkyries, were sometimes said to take the shape of ravens. In Norse...
Sweet.
Yeah, it is pretty cool. In Norse shamanic tradition, Odin's ravens represent the power of necromancy, clairvoyance, and telepathy, and they were guides for the dead. In Central Europe, you're gonna let me know that I butchered this. Walpurgisnacht, April...
Walpurgis. Witch's Night, right?
Yes.
Walpurgisnacht.
Yes, April 30th. German witches fly to Brocken Mountain in Harz Mountains for the Great Witches' Sabbath in the shape of their familiars, ravens and crows. Let's see. Western Europe. In England...
Yeah, I put the emphasis on the wrong syllable. It's Walpurgisnacht.
Yes.
Sorry.
That. Much better than I did.
Anyway.
In England, tombstones are sometimes called ravenstones. Amongst the Irish Celts, they associate raven with the Morrigan and say that she took the shape of a raven versus a crow over the battlefields as chooser of the slain. She was also a protector of warriors. Raven is also the totem of the pan-Celtic sorceress goddess Morgan Le Fay, who is also called the Queen of the Fairies. We do not fuck with the Fae. In some tales, she is Queen of the Dark Fairies, who were a race of tricksters who often took the form of ravens. Irish and Scotch banshees were also said to be able to take the shape of ravens as they cried above a roof, an omen of death in the household below. But given how ravens sound, they just scream like fucking banshees.
It's true.
So that is very broad, but I mean, pretty thorough. I mean, it is what it is. Trip through corvids, specifically ravens and crows, and their role in folklore, and also, you know, it is interesting just the interchanging of the two amongst folklore. It's hard to pick apart who had it right, and you don't want to necessarily lump them together because they are two very different birds, and they look alike, but I think that their personalities, I mean, one of them who is more protective of the living, much more less community orientated, like runs in a smaller pack and runs with wolves, versus one that, you know, mourns their dead and has like a significant ritual around that. Yeah,
that's just so fascinating to me.
It is. It's just the differences based on the similarities are fascinating. And there is a study where this woman took, she walked into like a park with a taxidermied crow and put it down to see.
Don't do that.
To see if it would have the same effect. And it did not. And they won't do it with any other birds. It is specifically a dead crow.
Oh yeah, like they knew better.
Right, like
like nah.
robin, finch, whatever. All those little nope. It's got to be specifically a crow. So yeah.
My mom got in a fight with the crows in my yard when she was here.
No.
So they yell at each other every time they see each other.
Yeah, that's never going to go away now. That's it.
Nope. They yell at my mom every time she walks out the door.
That's funny.
Because she yelled at them.
I think it's fascinating. And I would like to know from like a evolutionary point why those two birds specifically, and I know there's other birds too that are domestic that can speak or mimic, but
yeah, but they're so smart.
They're so smart.
Like, it's not just smart, they're clever.
Yes, like it's one thing to be smart, it's another thing to be witty and clever. Like there was a study with, and again it was with crows, but so this guy put two crows, Betty and I can't remember the other one's name, but I just love that it was a crow named Betty. I want to say like Betty and Pat or something, but he put these two crows in a cage, and there was a tube that had meat in it, and there was a couple pieces of wire. The crows literally fashioned a hook out of that wire and got the meat out.
Yeah, they worked together, didn't they?
Yeah, like it's just, and there's they don't even have paws, let alone opposable thumbs. Like they're dealing.
No.
It just to know that a fish had hit on a line, like just, and to pair up with wolves versus another carnivore wild animal, like it's so fascinating to me. And I know that when my mom had a talking crow when she was little, but we used to also, my dad, one of the credit unions that he belonged to, they had a talking crow in the lobby, and I used to like to go and talk to it. And it was fun. But again, you put a fucking parrot in front of me and I'm out. Like, I guess I just like the big, creepy, dangerous ones, or owls.
But parrots don't, I don't know, I don't connect with them in the same way. Like, they seem sort of random, or they seem like toddlers,
right,
to me, whereas crows seem like tricky preteens.
Right. Oh, they're like middle school girls, man.
And I like that because I think they're weird and fun and interesting, and also I do not understand them.
Right. And I have some of my own. Like, but yeah, so so it was sad to me that they I guess they don't have like their own specific entity, that they are mixed up so much. But I get it, I mean, especially, back then, I'm sure that the differences were probably not, and they're not super noticeable if you're not like looking for them.
Yeah, I mean, if you see them next to each other,
right?
Like, I don't think I realized until, like, there are crows in the woods behind my house that I am really excited to make friends with, and apparently they know who I am now. And I'm going to spend the summer, like, trading things with them and, like, trying to make friends with them because crows are fucking cool.
They are.
But I don't think, like, I have seen crows and ravens in captivity, and I've seen crows and lots of crows in the wild. But the first time I saw a raven in the wild, like, and I was just on a walk through my neighborhood. Like, it was, I just happened to, live in rural Vermont. But it was so big that I am pretty sure that, like, I'm a relatively small human, but it was big enough that I would be afraid of it if like, if it was mad at me, I'm not sure that I would win that fight.
I would die because I would try to hug it.
I would also try to give it something shiny, but
I don't know that ravens are the same with the shiny things.
I don't know. I mean, crows like shiny things.
Crows love shinies.
Well, I talked to the raven when it was up there, and it talked back at me, but not in the same way that crows do. It was like, yes,
we have some honking ass birds around us. I mean, because we've got eagles, we've got hawks, and when you see, there was, I don't know specifically why. One time there was an eagle in the middle of the road eating some carcass, and the cars, we waited. It was not moving.
Well, yeah, because that's a big ass bird.
It was not moving, and you can't hit it. Like, we're like, all right, enjoy your breakfast. Just go listen to this podcast and chill for a while. And then
I saw bald eagles in nests when I was in Vancouver, in Canada. And holy shit, like, I absolutely would fit in those nests. Like,
they really are majestic,
but no, for real.
Yeah, like I'm good with Merca. I'm good with the Maker bird because they are majestic as fuck. But then, like, the other day we were driving to.
They don't make that noise though.
No, no.
They make a really stupid noise.
They're not. Yeah. But there was it was a hawk. And it must have been ravens because they were like the same size. I mean, just
hawks are so cool.
Just chilling on the side of the road, and there was no carcass there. And I was like, they're having a meeting. They're having some kind of like,
what are you doing?
Right? It felt
You're
like
starting
a
call.
Yeah, shit's going down.
Yeah, I think that day that I saw the raven, I also saw an owl, like a big one. Yeah. That was on the other side. There's like a water reservoir, and I was walking around it. And on the other side, I think there was an owl just sort of hanging out on.
I love owls.
Yeah, it was cool, but it was so big, and there was someone who I think was blind in some variety. They had a little bit of sight, but not much, and asked what that giant thing was, and asked if it was a bird, and because they had a little dog who was going nuts, and I was like, oh, that's a gigantic owl. Like, it's large, and I'm not sure how big owls usually are because the internet likes to show me tiny owls.
Yeah. I think it varies on the breed.
But I think this was a pretty normal owl, and it was significant.
Yeah.
I think it might have been like a barn owl.
I was going to say, barn owls are they're big. They'll walk off with they'll take a kitten. They'll just swoop, whoop.
Yeah, I mean, the wingspan. It's the wingspan and then the head that turns all the way around. Like, you are possessed. Yeah. What is it? Okay. Like, you can go ahead and scream in the dark. Right? That's fine.
Indeed.
Oh my goodness.
Oh, on that note, I think that brings us definitely to
oh my god. Weekly worst way to die. All right, what's yours?
Mine is being pecked to death by an unkindness. Death by unkindness.
Oh. Yes, mine is cat scratch fever.
Ooh.
And also Ted Nugent. Because you can't really, like, if you have a certain generation, you can't say cat scratch fever without bringing the Nuge into it. And he's a problem.
He is.
Oh, God, he used to always be in the Diag in Ann Arbor selling his Kill It and Grill It book.
Yep.
Oh, just always.
He's so
like,
gross.
Motherfucker, why are you in Ann Arbor?
Because, he lived in Michigan, didn't he?
He lived in Ann Arbor. For reasons unclear.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, aging rock star
Indeed.
with a giant gun. Okay.
So if you're not Ted Nugent, do you want to be spooky internet friends?
Yeah. As long as you're not Ted Nugent.
No Ted Nugents allowed. You can find us at Bones and Bobbins on all of the social medias, the Instagrams, the Facebooks, the Twitters.
Yeah, and I keep forgetting to post. Sorry, that's my job, and I just haven't been doing it.
You can always find us at bonesandbobbins.com too. And if you poke us on
also true. I
Twitter,
don't forget to do that.
Then yeah, you can find us. If you can't find us on the main account, you can find us on our accounts.
Yeah, we definitely exist on the internet all day, every day.
Yep.
Yeah, and while you're on the internet looking for us, don't forget to rate and review this podcast. Please. Because it pleases the internet gremlins and the murders of crows.
Yes.
And that is, in fact, how we show up in recommendations so that other morbid souls can find us.
Bring forth the morbid souls!
Yay!
And on that note, let us leave you with some advice that you should never forget. Lock your doors.
And don't run with scissors.
Don't do it.
Each episode of the Bones and Bobbins podcast is written and researched by Haley Pearson Cox and Natalie Hoyce. Our music was composed by Loyalty Freak Music. You can find us on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at Bones and Bobbins. Subscribe now on Apple Podcasts, follow us on Spotify, or check us out wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts so you won't miss a minute of our strange and creepy content.